Being resilient is essential in an ever-changing world. But how can we use resilience as a framework within the landscape of deaf education? People often talk about the idea of resilience, but what does it actually mean? We think that resilience is a useful way in which to understand deaf learners. In this video, I will unpack the concept of resilience and look at how it can be applied in the context of teaching deaf children. There are many different ways to define resilience. But in this course, we see resilience as being able to thrive or do well in life in spite of adverse or negative experiences. What is important to note is that we do not see deafness itself as a negative experience. Rather, we argue that there are a range of factors within an individual's environment, such as a lack of psychosocial services, that disadvantage the deaf learner, and these environmental factors can result in negative outcomes for them. There is a common misconception that resilience is something innate within us. In the past, resilience research focused on personal qualities of individuals that may enable resilience, things like personality characteristics. The danger of this way of thinking is that it puts all the responsibility for change on the individual, and it ignores the important role that the individual's environment plays in promoting resilience. This is similar to the medical model of disability, where disability is located within the individual, and the wider context of the individual is ignored. Over time, researchers have come to realize that resilience is not only about the individual, it is also about their environment or context. So the current understanding of resilience is that it is an interactional process that involves protective factors not only within the individual, but also within their context. What do we mean by this? Well, in this way of understanding resilience, the individual actively looks for things in their environment that will support them. This can include social, cultural, psychological, and physical factors that will promote their well-being. This means that it is the role of the individual's socio-ecological context, their family, school, the community, and government, to ensure that they support them. This draws our attention to how the environment can facilitate and support resilience. This way of thinking about resilience is in line with the social model of disability, which argues that adversity or negative experiences do not come from the individual impairment, but from the way in which society excludes and stigmatizes people with disabilities. Thus, the focus in the social model of disability is on how we can create a society where systemic and societal barriers that can be disabling are removed. How can this understanding of resilience be used in the context of teaching deaf children? Well, resilience can help us to see the deaf child, or any child, holistically. When we look at things holistically, we are considering the big picture. Rather than just focusing on the individual, we are acknowledging that there are contextual and environmental factors that play a role in promoting the individual's resilience. It is useful to see the individual as being nested within different systems or levels that interact with one another. This includes the family, the school, the education system, and the broader community. In the case of deaf children, there are many different factors at these levels that can work together to promote resilience. This includes having a loving and caring family, being in a supportive school, including in the hostel, having deaf role models, and having policies and legislation that support the realization of their right to education. It also includes having an empowered teacher who is committed to supporting their learners and who is able to communicate with them. Support relies on relationships, which require full understanding and trust. This can only be established if the learner and teacher are able to use the same language fluently. If the learner does not understand what is being said to them, then it will be difficult to promote their resilience. Teachers therefore need to be able to communicate with their learners through the learner's preferred language, whether this is sign language or a spoken language. Teachers play a critical role in deaf children's lives, not only because they educate them, but also because they can be mentors and role models and create a warm and nurturing environment in the classroom. It is thus essential that teachers themselves are supported in order for their own resilience to be promoted. If teachers are resilient, this helps their learners to be resilient. This means that teachers need to be able to draw on protective factors within their environment. This includes being able to turn to supportive and caring friends and family members, building collaborative partnerships with colleagues and other schools, and having an education that trains and upskills them. We hope that in this video you have seen how the notion of resilience helps us to understand teaching deaf children in a holistic way, drawing attention to the different environmental factors that can promote their well-being.